What if my daughters never speak to me again? Not because they can't, but because they won't. The question burned through David Whitmore's mind as he stood frozen outside the playroom door, his hand trembling against the frame. Just one room away, his twin daughters, Lily and Grace, whispered to each other in a language only they understood. Not one word for him, not even a glance. And it had been that way for 4 long years. He was their father, a billionaire who could buy anything except the sound of his daughters' voices. And now the woman who'd only been hired to clean his floors, Elena Rivera, was inside that room, and somehow they were whispering to her. David's heart twisted with something ugly: jealousy, despair, guilt. What did she do that he hadn't? Why her? And if this woman, this stranger, was the only one they trusted, what did that mean about him? He took a shaky breath and stepped back, because what happened next would change everything. Stay with this story, because in just a few moments, one of the twins is going to speak out loud. And what she says will shake the very foundation of this broken father's heart. Every morning, David Whitmore stood at the grand window of his Massachusetts estate, watching his 7-year-old twin daughters, Lily and Grace, move silently across the dew-kissed garden below. From a distance, they looked like porcelain figurines, elegant, delicate, in perfect sync. But anyone who stepped closer would feel it, that haunting silence, the kind that settled in your bones, the kind that came from loss. 4 years ago, David's wife Emily died in a car crash. She was in the driver's seat. The girls were in the back awake. They watched her last breath. Since that night, neither child had spoken above a whisper, not to him, not to teachers, not to therapists, just each other. He had tried everything. He flew in world-class child psychologists, hired behavioral experts, even invested in experimental trauma treatments in Switzerland. But nothing broke through. Their whispers became their fortress, and David, despite his billions, remained outside the gate. That morning, Mrs. McCarthy, the elderly housekeeper, appeared at his office door. The new cleaning ladies arrived, she announced, voice tight. David didn't turn from the window. Send her to the playroom. The girls are up there. He already knew how this would go. Staff came. Staff quit. The twins unnerved them. Their silence made people uncomfortable, or worse, afraid. But something shifted the moment Elena Rivera stepped into the mansion. She didn't look like a savior. Mid-40s, modest clothes, quiet confidence. A Latina woman with kind, knowing eyes. Her English was soft and slightly accented, shaped by her Colombian roots, but her presence was firm. She carried the weariness of someone who had weathered life, and the quiet strength of someone who had chosen love despite it. She was sent upstairs with her vacuum, past the marble stairs and golden-framed portraits. Elena wasn't intimidated. She had worked in homes like this for 2 decades. But this one felt different. The silence wasn't emptiness. It was pain, controlled, suppressed, heavy. At the playroom door, she paused. Inside, Lily and Grace sat cross-legged in matching blue dresses, their dark hair tied in braids. They weren't playing like children. They were orchestrating. Their dollhouses were full cities, their gestures precise, their whispers layered and coded like a language only they understood. Elena recognized it immediately. Her daughter Isabel had done the same after losing her father. She began cleaning quietly in the corner. She didn't speak, didn't interrupt, just observed. Their system was brilliant, synchronized glances, finger taps, tiny gestures, whispers woven like threads. It was not just communication, it was survival. Suddenly, Grace looked up, her blue eyes locked with Elena's. There was no fear, just a piercing awareness. Then Lily turned too. The twins consulted one another in their secret way. A moment passed. Grace stood and approached Elena, pointing to the vacuum. She whispered something, but it was too faint to hear. "It's for cleaning the carpet," Elena replied, gently crouching to their level. "Would you like to see how it works?" The twins exchanged another whisper. Then Grace nodded. Elena turned on the vacuum, demonstrated a small section, and turned it off. "The motor's loud because it works hard," she explained softly. "Like when you run fast. Your body makes noise too because it's working." Lily blinked. Then for the first time, she whispered directly to Elena, "Is it tired when it's done?" Elena smiled. "Sometimes, but it's proud it helped." That moment cracked something open. By lunch, the twins were watching her more than their dolls. They began offering her toys, showing her their system, whispering to her, testing her. Then came the drawing. The next morning, Elena arrived to find Lily and Grace waiting at the playroom door, something no one had seen before. Lily handed her a paper 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a house. 1 tall, 2 small. "That's beautiful," Elena whispered. "Did you draw this for me?" Grace stepped forward. Her whisper was soft but clear. "You belong here now." Downstairs, David read a new report from Dr. Kincaid recommending the girls be placed in a trauma recovery institute 6 months away from home. His hands shook. Could he really send them away? Was he failing them by keeping them here? That night, as he tucked the girls in, he stood in their doorway longer than usual. He watched them sleep, bodies still mirroring each other. He thought of all the things he didn't understand, all the things he'd missed. Then he remembered something Elena had said the day before with quiet certainty. Your daughters don't need fixing. They need to be seen, understood, respected. Grace stirred in her sleep and whispered one word. Mama. David dropped into the armchair, grief choking him. He realized something terrifying. For 4 years, he had been trying to get his daughters to come back to his world, instead of entering theirs. The next day, something happened that made him question everything. Elena was cleaning the library when she heard the soft click of the twins' footsteps. Do you want to show me something? She asked. Lily pulled her toward a toy chest. Inside wasn't a toy. It was a voice recorder, dusty hidden. Emily's. David didn't know it still existed. Elena pressed play. The speaker crackled. Then Emily's voice filled the room, warm and loving. If anything ever happens, tell my babies I love them. Tell them every single day. Grace touched the recorder gently. We remember her voice. We didn't want to lose it. David stood frozen in the hallway listening. They hadn't stopped speaking because they forgot Emily. They stopped speaking because they remembered. And that memory was sacred. He finally understood. The voices weren't gone. They were just protected. That night, for the first time, he whispered to his daughters, Sleep well, my beautiful girls. Both Lily and Grace opened their eyes. Lily whispered back, Sleep well. Daddy, we love you. The tears came without shame. David Whitmore didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to force them into speech. He was going to learn their language. And he was going to fight for their world until they invited him in. This is just the beginning. Would you be able to remain silent if it meant protecting the only voice that reminded you of love? If you've made it this far, thank you for staying with this story. Would you have done what David did or sent the girls away? Let me know in the comments. It started with a whisper, but now someone else had finally heard them. After the night, David Whitmore whispered goodnight to his daughters and received their whispered, We love you in return. Something unspoken shifted between them. It wasn't just the words. It was the choice they made to respond. The permission they granted him to enter their world, even if just barely. And David didn't waste it. The very next morning, instead of his usual quiet breakfast, in buried grief, he found himself in the hallway, hesitating at the door of the playroom like a schoolboy, unsure if he was welcome. The twins were already inside, murmuring to each other as they arranged dolls, books, and small objects into what looked like an entire imagined kingdom. Then Lily looked up. She blinked. Grace turned a second later, sensing something. They didn't smile, but they didn't close the door either. David took a step inside. I was wondering, he began gently, if I could learn some of your words. The girls stared. Maybe you could teach me what this means. He held up 2 fingers, then curved them the way Grace had the night before. Another pause. Then Grace nodded. They were letting him in. By the 3rd day, he was kneeling with them on the rug, learning how a hand on the heart meant feeling 2 taps on the shoulder, meant question, and a soft exhale with closed eyes meant remembering. Elena watched from the doorway, arms crossed over her chest, eyes glossy. She had never seen a father so powerful, so broken, so willing to kneel. That evening, he turned to her. I'm failing them, he said, voice hoarse. I missed it. All these years I was screaming into a storm and wondering why they didn't answer. No, Elena replied softly. You were using your voice, but they were using their hearts. And now, you're finally listening. David let out a trembling breath. I need help, not from another expert, from someone who's been through this. Elena hesitated. There's someone. My daughter, Isabel. She went through something like this. Yes. She stopped speaking after her father passed, but not because she couldn't, because the world felt too loud, too cruel. She built her own language like your girls, and slowly, she came back. Would she meet them? She would love to. But fate had other plans. Before Isabel could arrive, the storm hit, and her name was Victoria Whitmore, David's sister. Sharp suits, sharper tongue, and a heart that measured healing by progress charts and private school acceptance letters. She showed up unannounced, her 10-year-old son Caleb in tow, clicking across the marble floor like she owned it. The girls need structure, she declared without preamble. This can't go on. They're nearly 8, still whispering. Still hiding. David tensed. They're healing. They're regressing. Whispering is not communication, David. It's avoidance. They need intervention, not indulgence. The twins, overhearing from the stairs, instantly shrank back. Grace gripped Lily's hand. Their whispers turned frantic, urgent. Elena rushed to their side, kneeling between them like a shield. David clenched his fists. You don't know them. You've never tried. I know what happens when we pretend dysfunction is personality. Elena stepped in. Excuse me, I think they'd like to show Caleb something. Would you like to come to the playroom, sweetheart? Caleb, wide-eyed and curious, nodded. Victoria rolled her eyes but allowed it. Inside the playroom, something astonishing unfolded. Lily took Caleb by the hand. Grace placed a train set piece in his palm. The twins began to whisper, not to each other, but to him. Caleb, unsure, looked at Elena. They're teaching you, she said. Just follow their hands. They showed him how to build the tracks, where the bridges went, how a hand-over-hand signal meant go. A 2-finger tap meant slow. Caleb listened. They guided him. Then something miraculous happened. One of the train cars derailed. Caleb's face fell. Sorry. Before he could panic, Grace leaned in and whispered, not softly but clearly, It's okay. We can fix it. Caleb blinked. You talked. Lily smiled, then added, We like teaching you. David, standing frozen in the doorway, could hardly breathe. Victoria turned pale. This doesn't change. It changes everything, David whispered. But the moment wasn't over yet. That night after dinner, Lily came to Elena in the kitchen with something folded in her hand. A note, a drawing. It showed Caleb's smiling trains on tracks and 3 figures holding hands. This is for him, she whispered. Elena smiled. He'll love it. Then Lily looked up. Is Isabel coming tomorrow? Yes, good. We want to ask her how she knew it was safe. And just like that, the next chapter was waiting. But for now, the moment belonged to them, to the girls who spoke in silence, to the boy who listened without judgment, and to a father who finally understood that love isn't always loud. Would you have had the patience to learn a language no one else could hear? If this part moved you, thank you for staying with the story. What do you think changed the girls most, David learning their language, or Caleb accepting it without question? Let me know in the comments. Some healing begins in silence, but the most powerful kind is the kind we choose to speak aloud. The day Isabel Rivera walked into the Whitmore estate, the air itself felt different. Not quieter, not louder, but fuller, hopeful. She was 17 now, confident, warm. Her eyes held both gentleness and experience, the kind of strength only someone who'd walked through darkness could carry with grace. Elena stood beside her, proud but cautious, her heart pounding. For all the progress Lily and Grace had made today was a test, a bridge between the world they had created and the one waiting beyond. David opened the front door before they could knock. They're upstairs, he said, his voice softer than usual. They've been waiting all morning. Isabel smiled. Then let's not keep them waiting. Upstairs, Lily and Grace sat side by side in their playroom, their favorite dolls and train sets arranged neatly but untouched. As soon as Isabel entered, both girls stood, no whispers, just wide searching eyes. Hi, Isabel said, kneeling to their level naturally. Your mom told me you've created something amazing. A language that belongs only to you, Grace whispered to Lily. Then Lily looked up and asked clearly, "Are you the girl who stopped talking?" "I am," Isabel replied. "And I'm also the girl who started again, when I was ready." Silence fell, not awkward, but reverent. Then Grace stepped closer. "How did you know it was time?" Isabel sat cross-legged on the floor, motioning them to join her. "Because I realized my voice wasn't just about sound, it was about love, and I wanted to share mine again." From that moment on, the conversation unfolded like water through stone, slow, steady, unstoppable. The girls asked questions. Isabel shared her fears, her small victories, her setbacks. She showed them the modified signs she had invented years ago. They responded by teaching her theirs. "You didn't lose your language," Grace said at one point. "You just added more." "Exactly," Isabel nodded. "It's not about choosing one or the other. It's about growing stronger, while keeping what makes you feel safe." That afternoon, something extraordinary happened. When David came to check on them, expecting a polite greeting or maybe a whispered update, Lily turned to him and said in a voice as clear as sunlight, "Daddy, we talked. A lot." David froze. Grace stepped forward too. "And we want to talk more, with other people, but we also want to keep whispering sometimes, just us." David knelt down, trying to steady his voice. "You can keep anything that helps you feel safe. Always." But Lily added, "We want to try school." It took him a moment to process. All the years of silence, the pain, the worry, and now this. Not just a decision to speak, but a desire to belong. He looked at Elena. She was already crying. Within 2 weeks, everything began to shift. The twins visited Willow Glen Cemetery for the first time since the funeral. There, standing between their father and Elena with Isabel holding their hands, they spoke directly to their mother's grave. "Hi, Mama," Lily said. "We've been quiet, but we didn't forget you," Grace added. "We kept our voices safe, but now we're ready to use them again." David had brought a letter, one Emily had written before giving birth, something he found just days ago in her keepsake box. He unfolded it slowly and read aloud. "If I'm not around someday, tell our girls they are strong, that they are enough, that their voices matter." Lily leaned into his arm. "We know she's proud," Grace whispered. "We feel her when we speak now. It's like she's listening." On the way home in the back seat, the girls weren't whispering anymore. They were laughing lightly, freely. And that night after dinner, as Isabel prepared to leave, Lily tugged on her sleeve. "Will you come again? We want to show you our school stuff. And maybe help other kids too." "You're already doing that?" Isabel smiled. "More than you know." 6 months later, the Whitmore household had transformed. Where once there had been marble silence, now there was laughter echoing through the halls. The girls thrived at school. They still used their special signals with each other, but their spoken words grew stronger every day. They even started a peer-led quiet corner at school, helping classmates who needed time or space to speak in their own way. Elena became more than staff. She became family. And one evening over dinner, David stood and addressed them all. "I used to believe my job was to fix my daughters, that something had been broken, but I was wrong. They were whole. They just needed time, safety, and love." He turned to Elena and Isabel. "You gave that to them, and to me." Then he knelt, not out of grief this time, but hope, and asked, "Would you become part of this family? Officially, would you both become?" Whitmore's Elena's breath caught. Isabel clutched her mother's hand. "Yes," Elena whispered. "We already are." Lily and Grace erupted into cheers, running to hug them both. There were no more walls, no more locked voices. Just home, just love. And that night, as David tucked the girls into bed, they said their good nights in soft, confident voices that carried through the open doorway like music. "We love you," Daddy, Lily said. "We're glad you listened," Grace added. David kissed their foreheads. "I always will." And just before turning off the light, he whispered this time, not from fear, but from joy. "Sleep well, my beautiful girls." Because now their voices weren't hidden. They had simply been waiting for the right hearts to share them with. Now, I'd love to know, if you had a child who refused to speak, would you push them or wait for their trust? And what do you think helped the twins the most? Isabel's story or David finally learning to kneel? What do you think of this story? If you loved it, please comment number 3. If it felt okay, leave a number 2. And if it didn't quite hit the mark, I appreciate your honesty with a number 1. Also tell me, where are you watching from? I'd love to hear which part of the world you're in. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please don't forget to send a heart, and share this video with someone who might need a little hope today.